U.S.-China trade tensions. This is the big one. And as I've said before, obviously tariffs on Canada by the U.S. is a big deal for jobs and our economy, and this is where we live. So obviously it hits home. But for the stock market, for the equity markets, tariffs on China and reciprocal tariffs from China back on the U.S. is very crucial to the stock market, to the U.S. stock market, and really the global stock markets. This is a situation where you have pretty much an embargo going on right now with 145% tariffs on all Chinese goods coming into the U.S. China is really just looking at in a new direction. We've heard the leader of China going to South Korea, going to Malaysia and other countries in the area, in the Asian area, trying to forge negotiations and forge trade deals with these countries, perhaps even Europe as well. So the fear is that some of these countries may start to align with China and move away from the US. To me, that has been the biggest fear all along, if that were to happen. But trade tensions are definitely something that is very, very important, especially for the stock market. We have a great picture to show you, our first illustration, and we have the two leaders there. And there you have it, 145% tariffs on Chinese goods, and you have 125% tariffs. So kind of back at you, the United States and President Trump. We're not going to just sit here and allow this to happen. Obviously, China, a proud country, their leader does not want to be looked upon like he just caved and bowed down to the United States, and that's what the Chinese think. And so they've said, and I've seen this in a press release, they will battle to the end against the United States. So with that in mind, who's going to blink first? Who's going to make that first phone call? We have a few charts here showing that the United States and China need each other. Our first one here shows you the percentage share in Chinese exports. And you can see how much goes to the United States. By far, the largest is the United States, making up, roughly 14, 15% of exports. So you can see when China sends goods to the United States, how important those goods and that back and forth of trade, how important that is to China, and just not sure how they can get around that. Our next chart here, China, showing China as the third largest buyer of U.S. goods, obviously behind Mexico, which is number one. Canada Canada is number one, Mexico is number two, and China is right behind there as number three. So yes, China sends to the U.S. a lot more than the U.S. sends to China, but make no mistake, tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, back and forth between the two countries is definitely not good. And maybe even more importantly, in just saying it's not good, what does it do to the tech sector? Obviously, a lot of technology goes back and forth between the U.S. and China, not to mention just chips. And just last night, in the evening, the United States said no tariffs. They announced that the H20 chip, that was Nvidia's chip that they were sending to China, not as powerful a chip as the chips that Nvidia produces for the United States and other parts of the world. That chip is they're no longer able to send that chip to China. They basically said to do that, you need a permit. And we all know how long it takes for Nvidia to get a permit of that magnitude. And by the time they do get a permit, I'm thinking that the chips will probably be obsolete by then and there'll be new technology. So for all intents and purposes, the market's looking at this as the United States is no longer able to, or United States businesses like Nvidia, AMD are no longer able to send chips to China. Let's take a look at a couple of tech stocks quickly here. We have Apple. I wanted to show Apple because you can see the dip there. That is the dip that happened when 145% tariffs were put on China. We know Apple produces a lot of iPhones, a lot of iPads, a lot of product in China. We heard that they actually airlifted, I think it was 160 tons of product, Apple phones and iPads and all that out of China to beat the tariffs because they knew how this was going to be. And no, they're not moving business back to the U.S., at least not yet. Apple has said it would just be way too costly, but they definitely are moving business out of China. perhaps going to India. That seems to be the location. Tariffs on India, much less obviously than tariffs on China. Our next chart here is a chart on Nvidia. Nvidia here, you could also see the dip, not as pronounced as the China dip, and maybe, sorry, the Apple dip. And maybe that's because Nvidia had been slowly falling prior to that. But again, two big tech names, the biggest tech names in the business today, and how they have been affected by these tariffs on China, reciprocal tariffs back and forth. So yes, the China tensions continues to ratchet higher, if you can believe it. I think both countries recently have said they're open to negotiations, but who will blink first? Who will make that phone call? And that's what we're all now waiting for.